Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finney, who fires the three, and
He hit it.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Don't forget Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymorehonda.com and get more to your door. And, of course, the wealth of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area. Great places like BB's Market, where you will find me this Friday, like you each and every Friday. We try to be come from there. How's it going today? We've made it midway point, middle of the week. Hope everybody's doing a great show, great lineup today. Bob Kravitz, of course, from The Athletic. Cal Neddenriep, looking forward to talking about wrapping up the high school state finals. What a historic epic 4A matchup with Flory Badunga and undefeated Ben Davis. Rick Bozich will be with us on Friday, normally with us on today. But pinch hitting, how about Mike Davis? Mike Davis was Dusty May was a graduate assistant to Mike. We'll talk to him about Dusty's success and what he saw in him early on, and we'll talk about Antoine's his son's run at the Pistol Pete scoring record. So plenty to get to there, plenty more to get to in the sports world, and I'm sure we've got plenty to get to with just your comments and questions. You can hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, 812-267-6369. No, 812-269-6367. That's 812-269-6367. I don't ever give that number out. Most people hit it up on YouTube chat if they're going to do that, which you can do as well. Hello, everybody up in the region, our region rats. How you guys doing up there on WJOB and the Chicagoland area? Hope everything is going well up there. Our river rats down on 97.7 ESPN, the RAF, always the right call. Our peeps down in Marengo on 89.9 WBRO. Hope everyone's having a great day, and everyone else listening, however, wherever, around the world, across the country. Appreciate you guys. Let's see. There you go. Justin says, I like that hat. Yeah. Wearing my B-Town hat today that I got from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios. Saw that and I'm like, oh, I got to have one of those, man. Got to have one of those. So, kind of reminds me, though, of, oh, gosh, what was the show? Oh, gosh, dang it, on NBC with a bunch of people from Saturday Night Live, including Alec Baldwin, 30 Rock. There was a writer. He would wear a different trucker hat every episode with something different on it. Tamar Bates in the portal. Not a surprise. Maybe I'm sure some people may be surprised, but I'm still waiting for another one to hit the portal. That's 2 and that's 5 new faces. Remember what I put the over-under at?
Wasn't it 5.5?
5.5, baby. Which side are you on? The over, the under? I'm on the over.
And I know Tamar Bates isn't coming back, but just because your name's in the transfer portal Doesn't mean you can't withdraw that name from the transfer portal still.
That is technically correct, but that ain't happening here. That's not the situation.
And honestly, it goes back to your point that you made at the end of the season, potentially, where Tamar Bates was kind of the only person in the locker room not emotional about losing.
Yeah, I don't want to make too much of that.
At the time, it didn't really seem like something to really
it
take
did to
anything
me.
with a grain of salt with, but
it did to me. It was more to it than that. It kind of said something to me, but I don't want to. That's not fair to paint somebody with that brush that if you don't know them completely, that could be how they react to certain situations. I'm not going to react the same way that a lot of other people are to something. So I completely understand that. And that's not fair. Just because someone wasn't crying, maybe they're not a crier. Some people are easy criers. So, I'm not going to do that, but I'm expecting one more. I'm with the over. I'm looking at 6. I sent out a tweet yesterday that regardless, at the very least, and think about this, 3 of Indiana's starters on next season's roster are not even on the roster yet. How about that for thought there, John Boy? You jumped off too soon.
What was the hypothetical? I missed the middle of your hypothetical.
I said with Tamar Bates, the realignment, quote unquote realignment of Indiana's men's basketball roster continues. I said, but I don't think it's done. But at the very least, 3 of Indiana's starters on next season's team are not even on the roster yet.
Yeah, that's probably true because you're going to have to fill the spot from Trace Jackson Davis, obviously, Race Thompson, Miller Kopp. There's 3.
Well, my point is that they're not on the bench.
Oh, you're saying they're not even on the team, period.
Yes, they're not on the roster.
That's probably true. I don't see Caleb Banks.
I don't think it's probably true. I think it's dead on balls accurate true.
That's an interesting thought for sure.
But yeah, it is. It's think about that. 3 guys that will be starting on the Indiana men's basketball team are not even on the roster, and that's not because they're incoming freshmen.
Now, I think you could argue. Now, when you say that, are you still assuming Jalen Hood-Schifino declares for the draft?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So that means your starters potentially right now of guys that you already have includes Trey Galloway and Malik Renew. Is that it?
No, Xavier Johnson.
Oh, well, there you go.
No, I don't. I see. Here's my thought. If Trey Galloway is starting, you don't have the team you need.
I think that's fair. I know we kind of talked about it the other day.
I don't mean that as a knock on Trey Galloway.
Yeah.
He's a hard player. He gives it. But if you watched the tournament, then you have to know what it takes in tournament time, especially. You can get by with this during conference play. People get comfortable. It's a different level. Conference play is hard. No question. But tournament play, that's a different level. It's turned up. Every team turns it up. This year, Indiana's men's team didn't have the guys that wanted to put the effort out that it took to play come tournament time.
I don't think Trey Galloway was without effort, but here's my take on him.
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying that at all.
Okay, you were talking about Trey Galloway, and then you went and talking about effort, and that's why I thought.
Well, I meant then that was relating to the whole team.
What I was trying to my point with him is that I just think Galloway in general, the motor he has is best suited for somebody that comes off the bench to provide that extra spark. That's not to say he doesn't have the ability to start. Obviously, we've seen what he can do when he's on the starting five. He's just the kind of player that when you have all the right pieces, his specific place is being the sixth man off the bench.
Yes. Indiana needs to be athletic enough to where he's coming off the bench. That was basically my point. Malik Renew, I did kind of forget about. I'm gonna be honest with you. As far as a starter, he'll be start. I would be shocked if he's not starting. So Malik Renew, Xavier, and the thing about Trey Galloway is Mike Woodson has shown his penchant for trusting and relying on older guys, and Trey Galloway will definitely be into that category next year. So I could end up being proven wrong on that tweet, but we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see who Indiana does bring in via the I know they had Jordan Sparks in from Ball State, big man whom they need. He reminds me of Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant a little bit bigger, very mobile around the basket, big strong guy. Indiana kid from Winchester. Looks like it would be a good pickup, but it's hard to gauge that. But they're going to have to bring in shooters, guys that can make their own shot. Guys that can get score off the ball, that can score the ball, that can shoot the ball. All of those. They have to have all of those. I mean, you have to have 4 guys that can all do that at the same times. See, did I miss an announcement that someone made? Let's see. A lot of good mornings. Hello, Justin, Fred, Kevin, John, Michael, Andrew. Let's see. His wife has him going to her alma mater, Eastern Green, to watch FAU and San Diego State Saturday for a watch party. So there you go. That's something cool. Eastern Green. And I noticed it's probably a Dana Bimbel article from the Star, but the headline just said, thanks to Dusty May, that JMV is not the most notable alumni of Eastern Green, which that is true. But Andrew says all are welcome to attend the watch party at Eastern Green on Saturday. So there you go. That's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. If you go, Andrew, try to take a little bit of video. And if you use video, turn your phone sideways. Everybody, if you're ever doing video, turn the phone sideways. Don't shoot video straight up. Little tip of the day to you.
Great.
Man, we got a great show lined up today. Bob Kravitz coming up. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Looking forward to talking about the state finals. And Coach Mike Davis, the former Indiana coach, joining us. And we'll talk about Dusty May, his former graduate assistant, and more. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thanks a lot for being along for the ride. Back more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether
All right. There's the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kravitz.
Yes, Bob Kravitz.
How are you? How are you?
Kravitz. Oh, I love that name. That reminds me of the Costanza episode in Seinfeld. Or just Kravitz, Kravitz, Kravitz.
My whole life, people have been calling me by my last name, whether I like
Me
it.
too. Me too. It's certain people have certain names. I think that for whatever reason, it's a last name. But see, yours is easy to just do. That's why
My students at Ball State, you would think it'd be Sir or Mr. Kravitz. Hey, Kravitz.
Oh man, I just have to save this for on there. That's good stuff. But that's funny. It's because it's true. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. No complaints. No complaints.
Have you been hitting the golf course yet?
I'm playing today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
A little chilly, but I'll do it. Where's Justin or Dustin today?
Oh, he's on assignment.
On assignment. Okay. Okay.
When did someone asked yesterday, and I'm trying to figure it out. Oh, discontinued in 1981, the consolation game.
Oh yeah. I don't know what you want to talk about, but my most recent column was about the Colts going out and getting Lamar.
I do want to talk about that.
Okay.
Because no one else is. I'm like going, Lamar, baby, Lamar.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm like, hell yes, Lamar. I'm like, why not? I'm like, what do you want to go get a quarterback that you're going to have to tutor for 2 years?
I agree.
And then hope. I said, you got a proven commodity, baby.
Exactly. It's only money.
Who's not over the hill.
No, he's 26 years old.
And
Damn, he's a year barely older than me.
Oh, it's mind-boggling. Now, here's this. Well, I got to save all this stuff for you, but
Yeah, save all the good stuff.
we'll also talk about IU transfer portal crap stuff.
Okay.
All right, here we go,
That's
boys.
good.
Rogers in Bloomington offers a variety of freshly made fare, tying their roots in Limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious, 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Wednesday, March 28th. Sunshine. Well, that means Bob Kravitz. Mr. Sunshine. Now,
Mr. Sunshine, that's me,
Mr.
man.
Warmth, that name is already taken on by
Don
what's his name
Rickles.
on those.
Don Rickles.
Oh,
Remember him?
That's true. Oh, do I remember him? Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Mr.
what's the
Sunshine
guy?
was good.
What's the guy on Shark Tank? What do they call it? Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful. I've been called that before.
So yeah,
No.
Mr. Sunshine, especially with a name like in the off the air, we're talking Kravitz. I can just hear in school the teacher yelling at you, Kravitz.
It's
Kravitz.
unbelievable. I was telling you off the air that I work with a bunch of students at Ball State University, journalism students. And, you would think it'd be Mr. Kravitz or even Bob. Nope. Hey, Kravitz. And the funny thing is, my daughters, who don't look like a Kravitz, they just, pretty young lady. People walk up to, hey, Kravy.
Oh man. Oh, I hear. I mean, I get the same thing. I hear that. Oh man, you're the Rodney Dangerfield of sports writing.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I get the same thing. Same thing. Called by the last, but mine didn't have that good sound as yours. Yours has that good, perfect sound for it. Kravitz.
Yeah, it's like hello, Newman.
I mean, that's like a radio station call letters, man. That if it was a radio station, that would be great call letters. Kravitz.
Kravitz.
Yeah, you'd have to shorten it somehow, but
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but we'd get there. Jamar Bates is in the portal for Indiana, second player in the portal. Along with Logan Duncombe, which was no surprise. Tamar Bates was not a surprise to me. I expect yet another player to go in the portal. I put out a tweet a while back that the over-under was at 5.5 for new faces on Indiana's roster next year, and one more would make it 6. I don't think it goes to 7.
Who's your 6, Jim?
Geronimo.
Oh, Geronimo, yeah. Because I really think there's promise there. And I think
everybody, we keep saying that, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, we've been saying that for 2 years. So I thought when he had that breakout game against Wyoming, that might be a good starting point for him heading into this season, and it never really happened.
Yeah, and it really seemed to that chasm widen this year because there was talked about this before. There's a picture, I forget what game, but toward the end of the season where the team's in their huddle and he's still sitting on the bench, just like looking off into space. And I'm like, wow, that picture says a million words and the body language. So, and this team needs a complete, I can't think of the word I'm trying to use. Well, rebuild, but I was talking about when you replace an organ.
Transplant.
They need a complete transplant of so much. You want to talk about culture? They did not have a culture of winning on this team, in my opinion. They just weren't built or understood what it takes to play at the level every game to be a winner. And that's how they got beaten in the Miami game. When Mike Whitson saying he's coming off the floor saying, hey, my players are complaining. They were getting their asses outplayed tremendously and hustled out everything. And
does it make IU fans feel any better that Miami's in the national in the Final Four? Does it cut some of the pain? Probably not.
I don't think so. I mean, I think it may add to it.
Yeah.
Because you look at Miami as a team that, while good, is no different than many other teams. But I think that they played harder. They are hitting their stride at the right time. Isaiah Wong is just going nuts, but they're all playing well. Nigel Pack is playing well. And then Norchad Omer. What the hell? Where'd this guy come from?
Yeah, he's been tremendous.
He's an athletic Charles Barkley.
He really is. He really is. And I will say this: they're the best paid team in the Final Four.
That's true, but I know that's going to come up. Well, the thing is, they only brought in one guy. I think Nigel Pack. I think the rest of them were there.
Yeah, but they're paid well by this Ruiz guy.
Right. Oh, yeah. Wong's getting the same amount.
Right.
But it's like, but what's the difference? Just because those guys aren't getting paid, it's like they're bad luck on the other teams because they had transfers. Every team had transfers.
Right. They all have the same opportunities for the most part. And Yeah, it's interesting to me. I may have mentioned this last week. I think, in the long term, the NIL is going to make the strong teams even stronger and the weak teams even weaker. That said, in the first year of the NIL, basically, you've got 3 Cinderellas of varying scopes going into the Final Four, and smaller teams. Miami has been just an okay ACC team for years and years until Larrañaga got there. I mean, you got to go back to the Rick Barry days, for God's sake, for them, being really good. And the have-nots have inherited the Final Four, which surprises me in the first year of the NIL. But I think over time, the strong will get stronger and the weak will get weaker with NIL.
Great comment here from Philip on Conference USA. And this really shows how basketball has been just leveled. Conference USA can potentially get the college basketball triple crown. Charlotte won the CBI. North Texas and UAB will face off for the NIT. Are they both in Conference USA?
Yeah.
And FAU is in the NCAA Final Four.
That's pretty amazing.
It is very amazing. And so they're going to win the NIT and have second, and they have the runner-up.
Right. Pretty interesting note.
And I know North Texas beat Wisconsin to get into that last night. I didn't watch the end of that game, but I fell asleep, I think. But yeah, so they didn't just get there by beating nobodies either. They beat a Big Ten team. That's something. And then next year, FAU is moving on from the Conference USA to the AAC, where Houston and those teams are. So that's going to be, and see, that brings up Dusty May already can write his own ticket if he wanted to, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of high-profile jobs available. I do not call Penn State a high-profile job, although I know it probably is, since it's P5 and in the Big Ten, it's automatically probably. But I'd wait.
If I was Dusty May, I'd look long and hard at a Big Ten job if it became available, even if it's Penn State.
Really?
Yeah, I would. I mean, granted, there's no beach within 3 miles of the campus. I mean, if you've seen where they play, I mean, they've got a pretty nice. It'd be nice to go to college on the beach. I probably wouldn't have gotten anything done, and probably would have had a GPA of about 1.6. But if Dusty May, if he has an opportunity to go to Penn State, I got to think long and hard about that.
I'm not saying he does or he doesn't, but Pat Kraft is the athletics director at Penn State, the former IU graduate, former IU football player, who obviously is extraordinarily familiar with Dusty May. And it doesn't even matter. Forget about the connections. Just anybody from outside looking at what he's done and how he does it, how he carries himself, how his teams carry themselves. There's every team would want him.
Oh, absolutely.
But there doesn't seem to be the amount of jobs open this year that normally are.
Well, they've already been taken. I mean, Notre Dame. I mean, there are a couple of openings, but yeah, there's not much left. So I wish the guy the best, man. I don't have a real strong rooting interest in this Final Four. I guess I'll root for FAU just because of the Indiana connection. What's amazing is that if you look at that group of managers at IU, maybe you mentioned this, maybe it was somebody else, but you've got this Joe Pasternak was a manager with Dusty May. He's the head coach of UC Santa Barbara. And this other guy, I think it's Schrage.
Schragi.
Yeah. He is now an assistant coach, associate head coach at Duke. And all three of those guys are in the same managerial group, along with Ryan Carr from the Pacers.
All right. Who was the first guy you said? Not Dusty, but not Froggy.
Joe Pasternak from UC Santa Barbara just signed an extension.
He's the head coach there?
Joe Pasternak.
He's the coach there, the head coach?
He's the head coach. It's pretty amazing that three guys from the same managerial class, or, they were all there roughly the same time. And I'll bet you there's a long story here. Bob Knight managers have done extraordinarily well at the next level.
I have long wanted to compile a list of all of them.
When you do, send it to me, will you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll get right on that.
Please do.
So how long would that list be?
God, I don't know. I'd have to reach out to Ryan Carr from the Pacers and ask him, but a lot of guys have done extraordinarily well. So, the Bob Knight coaching tree really extends to his managers.
Oh, no, Frank. No joke. Frank. Lawrence Frank, who made it all the way to the NBA as a head coach and has gone further into he just went into the front office. Wherever he is. I'm not even sure where he is right now. Out west somewhere, I think.
Yeah, I forget where Lawrence is these days. Sorry.
But yeah, just think about that. I mean, we're talking about managers. Where's Schragi, coach?
Duke.
That's a crazy. But yeah, the coaching tree was long talked about a long time ago with Bob Knight, his assistants. But when you have a coaching tree off of managers, not a branch, but a tree. I mean, a bunch.
Shrubbery.
That's amazing. I mean, that is literally amazing. And we talked about that. Charlie Miller he knows all these guys. He's great. He's somebody great to talk about all these guys, because when he's on, he talks about Schragi and Joe and those guys. But and then you've got, if you want to go that far, of course, Scott, oh my gosh, the athletics director for Indiana, Scott Dolson, also in the same managerial class with a guy I went to high school with, LJ Wright, who is the director of men's championships for the NCAA. So it goes on and on and on. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Very interesting.
Speaking of crazy, how about this NCAA tournament? Is this the new norm?
No.
Or is this in a blip?
This is a blip on the continuum. I believe it's an anomaly.
COVID anomaly?
Yes, because you've got so many 5th and 6th year seniors. And if you look at these teams, they are loaded with 5th and 6th year guys. I think it's a COVID thing. I think it's you've got a lot of much older teams where you've got men playing against boys, basically young men, and I think we've seen these veteran teams take control of this NCAA. One thing I do want to say, I may write about this, but as much as I look forward to the men's Final Four every year, that women's Final Four, that national semifinal between South Carolina and Iowa, between Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, that's where my focus is. I'll watch the Final Four men's, but for me, appointment television is, I think it's Friday night at 9:00 or something like that. I will have my buttocks on the couch watching that with my dog in my lap.
That's the quasi national championship.
It really is. I mean,
for the women.
Yeah, you got to think so. And to me, it's kind of like Bird and Magic, in '79, where you get two superstar players. One team is considered the dominant favorite in South Carolina, coming off a national title, 36-0. And then Caitlin Clark. Everybody wants to watch Caitlin Clark. To me, she's Pete Maravich with a ponytail. I mean, the way she plays, I love the way she passes the basketball. Aside from her scoring, her passing is just incredible.
Yeah, she's remarkable player. I saw a stat the other day. She is like 50% from 25.5 feet.
Yeah.
It's just something stupid. It's just utterly ridiculous. And it just looks so effortless.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't look like she's pressing, it's just all in the flow of the game. So I'm like I say, I'm more excited about the Friday night semifinal with the women. I think the women's tournament this year, through no fault of anybody's, they've got the juice this year. And I would, I know in The Athletic, we wrote a story saying that this year's men's Final Four will probably have the lowest ratings in history, certainly in the last couple of years. I think the difference between the ratings for the men and the ratings for the women will be as small as it's ever been. Certainly more, the men's tournament will obviously get monster ratings, even though they'll be down, and they'll still be significantly higher than the women's. But I think this is a real good step in the right direction for the women's game.
Yeah, it really, as much I keep thinking about Indiana and the opportunity that they lost, and my God, they really coughed up an unbelievable opportunity. It just makes me sick for them, because teams like that just don't come along very often. And that team was made to win. I don't know. I've said this all week. I don't know what happened, but something happened at the end for them where they lost this ability that killer ability that they had. I don't know if it was losing that tough loss at Iowa,
right,
if it was the 23-point deficit that they coughed up to Ohio State next.
Something went wrong there at the end, and I'm not around them, so I won't fake it. But yeah, clearly at the end of the season, much like Purdue men, they were not the same team at the end of the year.
Well, but that was no surprise. You predicted that IU would go further than they would, but most of us didn't. I did not see Purdue. I didn't think they were going to lose to Fairleigh Dickinson.
Oh no, me neither. I had already made trip arrangements for New York City. You kidding me?
But how sweet would it have been had it been Dusty May had knocked them out in the next round, who they would have played?
Oh,
that would have been that would have been sweet. But it's funny how things roll. The Colts and quarterback.
Yeah,
things keep moving around and changing daily, it seems like. Lamar Jackson is in play. I love Lamar Jackson. Covered him when he was at Louisville. I had some guy last night say, "Oh, he's one of those running quarterbacks. You're going to get hurt." I go, Lamar Jackson is a snake. He does not take hits.
He doesn't.
I've called him a snake since college.
Saw Mahomes get hit hard.
These guys, he has this ability. I've just always called him a slithering snake, because that's exactly what he's able to do through the defense. He just does not take big hits, and he can throw the ball. So, and he's under 30. There was a stat yesterday I saw that you know how many NFL MVPs that have played for multiple teams before the age of 30? Goose eggs.
Yeah.
0. He would be the first. And now the fact that he's asked for the trade, that he actually had asked for the trade, how much is that going to play into it? There's no way Baltimore wants to lose him. Can Indianapolis afford him?
Oh, sure they can. Indianapolis can absolutely afford him. And Jim Irsay, said the other day down in Glendale, Arizona at the owners' meetings, he said, money is not the problem. The problem, and the reason that the Colts will not get Lamar Jackson is they don't want to piss off the rest of the owners like Jimmy Haslam did in Cleveland and pay out a big dollar guaranteed contract. That's the bridge too far for a lot of these owners. And
it's too that. And the thing about that one is this is the contract that Bob's talking about is Deshaun Watson's contract,
right?
Which is it's gross on a number of fronts,
of course.
And so, yeah, that's every time I see that, it's wow. No wonder that franchise is the way they are.
Pandora's box has been opened. And if I can throw another cliche in there, the toothpaste, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Okay. Guaranteed contracts for certain elite, super elite players are going to be the norm. The Colts and everybody else can, hold up their nose to Lamar Jackson, but I guarantee you when Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and all these stud guys come up for contracts, they are going to look at Deshaun Watson and say, where's mine? What are you going to do? Shut them all out? You're going to make them all sit? I mean, that's absurd. So
you can't pay them all, but you can't pay them all. That kind of money.
Sure you can.
Oh, that would be the beginning of the end.
Why?
Well, the money has to run out at some point because now you got the quarterbacks are doing that. Then it's going to move to another position.
Look, the Colts, everybody's like, I get people saying, well, you're paying this guy so much, percentage of the cap. What kind of team will you have? Do we all forget the Peyton Manning era? Peyton was the highest paid quarterback in the league for many, many, many years. And they still were somehow able to afford Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and Bob Sanders and Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney and look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes is making an extraordinary amount of money, and they're doing okay. They were able to build, and like the cap is easily massaged with all due respect to Deshaun Watson. That was supposed to be
let's see, before we get out of here, someone asking about Zach Edey. I don't see him leaving. I've never heard anything about him leaving. I don't see him. He's not on any mock draft list, so there's no way he would leave. But
I think there's a chance he could go pro. You
think he would this year? I don't think he's listed high enough on any mock drafts.
Well, he's listed as a second rounder on mock drafts, but is he excuse me, is he going to get any quicker next year? I mean, after a year like he had, I'm thinking, the iron is hot. Go get it. I mean, he can't possibly have a better year next year than he had this year. I mean, he's player of the year. Why not go pro and look, if he stays and has another great year, he's still going to be a second round pick because the NBA does not play with 7'4" guys who,
really slow,
not slow, but I mean, he's what you would hope you would get with a 7'4", 300-pound guy, but that's not the way they play ball in the NBA. And, you've got to go back many, many years to find center-dominated teams that have won big in both college and in pro. It's not 1985 anymore with Patrick Ewing. So if I'm Zach Edey, I'd have to think long and hard about it because how much can he really improve his stock?
So there's that. Here's a great question by Sean. I'll let you go after this. Yeah. If you are Zach Edey or any high-profile returning college basketball player, why wouldn't you enter the portal to make more money or open a bidding war in the NIL?
Well, do you know how much Zach Edey makes at Purdue?
I do not, but I'm sure he's probably well compensated.
He is. He makes almost $1 million a year.
And
I think he's right there with Trace around 850 to 900.
So he's not
better for him.
he's better off staying where he is.
Why?
Because, well, right now, the second round contracts are not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed.
He's guaranteed $1 million next year, guaranteed another $1 million. And so after that, it's roll the dice. So I would take the guaranteed $1 million for another year. And Purdue should actually obviously be a lot better next year with these guards getting a year older, but they're still going to be. I mean, they're losing Mason Gillis. They're probably losing a couple of guys. I don't know what Ethan Morton, although he didn't really bring them a lot, but they need to add pieces to their team. That's not a team. They can win in the Big Ten Conference, but the Big Ten Conference has to change the way it plays.
And they need more guards who can really break people down. I remember during the Big Ten tournament, and we're talking to Micah Shrewsbury, and he said it very clearly, in March, guards win. And I think, we saw that with Purdue. I mean, their guards went 5 of 26 from 3. Nobody wanted to shoot the ball after a while. It was painful to watch. So yeah, you got to have the guard play. I think the Big Ten is so physical that it probably chases some players away.
Yeah, that probably needs to change, but
probably
I don't know. We'll see. What's up next for you, sir?
I don't know. I'm going to play a little golf, and I got some ideas, but they haven't been fully figured out.
Percolated.
So I'll have my Diet Coke and come up with something.
Enjoy your day. Appreciate you, brother.
Talk to you.
Look forward to seeing you soon. The great Bob Kravitz from The Athletic joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our friends down on Anna Maria Island, the Ugly Grouper. If you're down and around the Sarasota area, Anna Maria Island is just west of there. I know a lot of people said that they've already been there. I have yet to be there. I can't wait to go. Bob, we need to go on a golf trip down there.
Ooh, that sounds sweet.
That is it.
I'm available, whatever the dates are. I'm available.
I'm going to set it up. More coming up from the high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal. Yeah, there's just all kinds of that CUSA or CS. Where did that record go? Let's see. They were 19-1. That's an amazing number. And I appreciate you guys throwing these numbers out because I can't look all this stuff up at the same time. I'm going to steal that and send it out for a tweet. Philip, appreciate you.
20 seconds. This will be a pretty short segment.
Yeah.
Extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back Wednesday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here. Hope you're having a good one. That was fun times with Bob Kravitz. Lots of different stuff to talk about there between Indiana basketball, recruiting, the Big Ten, the Colts. So I don't know. He didn't make it sound like I don't know what they're going to do. Nobody does. We'll just have to wait and find out. It'll be interesting, but so is the transfer portal in college basketball. That's the thing. It's the biggest trade season of any sport. You know, when Major League Baseball has the trading deadline coming and guys move, there are, guys that move, but not at these numbers. Last year it was 1,000 that were in the portal, and not all of them stayed in, I guess, but not all of them found new homes. But just think about that number. It's probably going to be over 1,000 this year. That's a lot of moving parts. But what kind of numbers? How many D1 teams are there? I know it's like 320, roughly. So if that were the case,
363.
363. Wow. So there's 363 D1 teams. I think that most teams have 17 scholarship players. I think that's the right number. So
17, no, 17's a lot. It's like 13 you're allowed.
Oh, that's right. You're right. What the hell am I thinking? 13 scholarship players. They have 17 total. So now I got to go back. What did I say? 363. 363 times 13. 4,719 approximately Division I basketball players. 4,700. 1,000 of those. I mean, that's a fifth, right? A little more than that. That's a lot. Even though it gets dispersed out, that's enough change. It makes a huge difference. I mean, look at the various teams that are playing. Bob thinks this is an anomaly, this year's NCAA tournament. And I do too, because the fact that every big time team fell, I'm so glad to be getting out of this COVID stuff. I was looking at one of the guys that Indiana's looking at, the kid from Harvard. I believe he's already played 4 seasons. One of the guys has. I'm like, damn, he's already played 4 years. This will be a 5th year of playing. And so next year, will that now? How long will? Gee whiz, that could last another 2 years?
Yeah, he'd be if he has the COVID year, which this guy would.
I'm not talking about him. No. He has 1 more year. He's already played 4 years.
Oh well, yeah. Well, what are you saying then?
When I'm trying to figure out when the COVID added year for everybody is going to be done.
I'll tell you here in just a moment.
Well, that probably won't be until 2025.
The class that includes, this is for
Maybe
Indiana specifically,
2026.
Galloway, Leal, Geronimo, and formerly Bates. When that class graduates,
which is
the
when
COVID stuff will be gone.
You're burying the lead. When is it?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm getting there. It's so next year these guys will be, by eligibility, juniors, technically seniors. So they'll have 2 more years of eligibility left.
So 25. Is that
the 2025-26 season will be the first year where all of the players are gone.
okay? So 2025 is when the COVID runs its course, which is what I thought, since 2020 was the COVID year. But I couldn't remember or figure out if it was going to be the 25 season or the 26 season. But so 26. So we've got 3 more years. 3 more years of dealing with this crap.
Well, 2 more seasons, because this season's over. Next season,
Well,
and then the
that's
following season, and then the season after that will be when it's gone.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm tired of seeing guys that have played already 4 full seasons and are playing a 5th. But it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and scream, get off my lawn about that. It is what it is.
Right.
We've got to take a break. Up next, Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star. We'll talk about Flory Badunga, the most recruited man in America. Every big-time coach in America was there to see him on Saturday. Ben Davis, undefeated, 33-0. That's a historic accomplishment. Talking about all that and more when we come back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore.
Morning, Kyle.
Morning. I don't know why my camera doesn't work anymore, apparently.
It's a good, you're not the only person to have that issue. Kyler Staley, his camera wasn't working last week either.
Yeah, I got a new computer. Maybe that's the issue, but whatever.
So does your camera on your, does it have a light that normally turns on whenever it's working?
Yeah, the light is on, so I don't know.
So here, let's check something real quick. If you have your settings bar on the bottom of your screen, click on that.
Okay.
And then on the settings or on the camera tab where it says, where that has the drop down bar, see if it gives you a couple different options.
Yeah, it says integrated webcam, camera solution.
Try just sort through each of those and see if it changes anything.
Okay. Doesn't appear to. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. This used to happen with Zach too. I don't remember how he got it fixed. I'll have to ask him.
It didn't work last week either, and it was on the other computer, so I don't know. That's weird.
It's no big deal though. You're still with us.
Yeah.
Got about 1 minute, Jim.
Most people would prefer that my camera was off, I'm certain. Oh, boring night last Saturday night at the Gamebridge Fieldhouse.
Yeah, quite the scene. Yeah, I'll mess with this camera. I don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out at some point.
If it's new, it's probably
something to do with settings.
Yeah, although it didn't work last week either, and that was the old one. So I don't know.
Have you done any Zoom with anyone?
No, not lately. I haven't. Yeah, I haven't.
I would just try that.
Yeah, because
the light's on. With that,
the light's on, but nobody's home. So,
all right, here we go, guys.
Avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. I hope it's been a good start to your week. If not, back half will be better. We're halfway there. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us now. Kyle, how are you, sir?
Hey, doing good, Jim. How are you?
Just peachy, man. It's the worst time of the year, although it's a great time of year. Spring, everything's not, about to pop and grow and be able to get outside. But the end of college basketball is here, even high school basketball, which for you, I know, is probably a welcome reprieve as hard as you work covering so much. But boy, it's almost depressing to think about that. But what a great finale for Indiana high school basketball this past Saturday night at Cambridge Fieldhouse.
Yeah, so sorry, it's sort of cutting out a little bit, but it was a great night. The Saturday night at Cambridge was a fantastic atmosphere, and just couldn't have it. I told a couple of people it felt like a Friday night at a packed house in a gym somewhere that was a lot smaller. The atmosphere was incredible. I don't know if I've felt anything quite like that in an NBA arena. Just ridiculous that it could feel like that. So it was fantastic atmosphere. The game was kind of heading towards looked like a potential upset there going into the fourth quarter, but Kokomo just didn't quite have enough offensively around Flory to kind of help him out. That's been their issue at times this year. Kind of showed up again on Saturday night, and and Ben Davis obviously has a lot to do with that. Nobody beat them all year for a reason, and they're just too good defensively, I think, for a lot of people to handle that pressure for four quarters, and that kind of turned up to be the case again. And I thought Zane Dowdy was again just very, very good. He didn't have his monster rebound numbers like he normally does. There wasn't a ton of them to get really, but he had 20 points and kind of negated Flory to an extent on the interior, and just another really good game for him as well. So overall, just it was a fun game, not a big surprise, that Ben Davis finished it off, but credit to them. 33 wins and no losses is impressive. The zero is the impressive. It doesn't matter how many you win, but the zero is just for the schedule they play. It's amazing.
That was exactly what I was getting ready to talk about. Is, man, they play all comers. Are they in the MIC?
Yeah, they are
in the interclass. So There you go. That's one of, if not the toughest conference in the state. They're an Indianapolis school, so they're playing everybody that's anybody during the season. And this, of course, the tournament is the equalizer. You can't escape anybody at that point, and yet they took them all on, and that's historic. I mean, is it 13 teams that have done that?
Yeah, it was 13 prior to Saturday. So now 14 teams over 100 and whatever, 111 or something like that, 112, 13 years. So, it doesn't happen that often. The last one was relatively recent with the Warren Central 2018 team went 32-0. And then before that, the 09 Bloomington South and Princeton teams both did it that year, back-to-back in that night session. I remember that. That was memorable night. Princeton barely beat Rochester that night. And I think it was double overtime. And but yeah, it just hasn't been done a lot, and that's a credit to playing a really tough schedule, and in Ben Davis's case, just really doing it on the defensive end, night in and night out. And they've got obviously some good offensive players too. They got a veteran team. They have kind of everything. There's everything you really need to win the championship.
What was it about this Ben Davis team, and who do you compare them to as far as the greats? We think back, of course, Lyndon Jones, Jay Edwards, Conley, and Oden. Those were great duos on those teams that just destroyed people. But where does this Ben Davis team fit?
I would say they are, they're probably. It's hard to say. I mean, they're not a star-powered team necessarily. They're not like they have the McDonald's All-American type. They don't have the guy who's going to go out and score 30 points, which I think it makes it even maybe more impressive. That was kind of similar to the Warren Central team 5 years ago. They had David Bell. They had Jesse Bingham, who's a great player at Indy Division II, and also Jacoby Robinson's there too. And they have Antoine Cushenberry and Dean Tate, who both played at a smaller level in college. But, you look at this Ben Davis team, you have guys who are probably going to play at a little bit higher level in basketball. Warren had David Bell, who's in the NFL, but this team probably has, Zane Dowdy's going to get, possibly, I know Ball State's coming in on him tonight to visit with the family, but, it's and Sheridan Sharp's going to go play at Nicholls State, which is D1. So you have some really good players as far as that goes, but it's not a team that's, just going to overwhelm you with scoring explosion. I think Mark Zachary's probably the kid that, maybe people don't realize is that good, who, he's only a sophomore. So, he's going to be a really good player at the next level. It could be in football though. So, sorry, I'm a little distracted here. I'm trying to get my badge situation figured out for work, but yeah, it's going to be, it's a team that I think that will go down in history. Kind of the sum of its pieces are maybe greater than the individual parts. So I think that's maybe the biggest thing to remember about this team.
Former Indiana sharpshooter Matt Roth took over coach of Blackhawk Christian after the unfortunate passing of their coach a year or so ago, and was able to get them back to the state championship game and went and won it.
Yeah, Matt did a great job. Pretty emotional time, I think, for him. And coming in for Coach Davidson, Mark Davidson, who passed away last year, and Matt had worked under him previously as an assistant. For I think it was 2015 to 2018 or 13 to 16, somewhere in that range. But he knew some of these kids on the team at a younger age, including Jimmy Davidson, Mark's son, who used to ride with him on the bus and steal his iPad and play PGA golf on Matt's iPad. And, I talked to Jimmy last week about that. And, he was hoping Matt would get the job. He got back into coaching. He was out of high school coaching for a little while and then got back into it. And then, it kind of became a opportunity for him to come back to Blackhawk right before Mark passed away, which was last May. And, Mark had cancer and, just an amazing dude. I got to know him a little bit over the last few years, and just a guy who, I told Jimmy too that, you'd walk away from talking to Mark and it was like you felt better about yourself. He's one of those type of guys, knowing what he was going through and how he handled it. But, a really cool moment at the end of that. Jimmy Davidson kind of flips the ball up ahead to Josh First to end the game. And, the immediate reaction for Jimmy was to go over and give Matt Roth a huge hug. And that's a memory I'll always think of, with that Blackhawk Christian team. And, the fact that they beat a very good Linton Stockton team, they had to come from behind and do it. And, those two 2A teams are both, they would both do really well in the 4A tournament. They're both excellent basketball teams. So, that that was a great game, great battle. And, I think, credit to Matt for coming in and filling some huge shoes with Mark Davidson, who's, and Matt very, he said, hey, this will always be his program. His fingerprints will always be on this program. But Matt stepped up and did a fantastic job, in a tough spot and was able to kind of reap the rewards in the championship game. And, has a really good team. They'll be good again next year, I think, with Kellen Pickett coming back, who's about 6'8" sophomore, and he played excellent that night. So I don't think I don't think that program will necessarily drop off very far.
I mentioned Flory Badunga earlier in Kokomo's attempt to hand Ben Davis their only loss, not successful, but it was certainly a challenge. But Flory Badunga had a huge audience there with the entire Indiana basketball staff, led by Mike Woodson, of course, John Calipari from Kentucky, Tom Izzo from Michigan State, Bruce Pearl from Auburn, Juwan Howard from Michigan, amongst others there to watch him, and he did not disappoint. Where is he as far as level of being recruited? He's number 2 on the rivals board right now, but how far back do we have to go as far as level of recruit that's being chased?
Oh boy.
Eric Gordon? I mean, or has it been more, but was Conley in between that? I can't remember.
No, Conley was right before that, but there's been, I don't, Gary Harris was pretty highly, I don't know if it was quite to that level maybe, but hard to know. I'm sure there's been, it's hard to know. I mean, he's top 5 in the country. I mean, honestly, Xavier Booker had quite a bit, just here in the last year, going to Michigan State, but it's up there in that range of the highest of what we've seen in recent years, I would say. And probably more of a, he wasn't a kid, obviously, anybody knew until, even last year. So that's kind of the difference, is there's sort of that, who is this guy still, even with him, and just kind of the curiosity factor, which is pretty rare in high school basketball anymore. These kids are so picked over by this age that you kind of feel like you know everything about them. At this point, but there's still that curiosity with Flory, and I, even from a human standpoint, getting a chance to talk to him more here in the last few months, than standing behind him after the championship game. And I don't know, Flory, it's hard to know what he actually knows about Indiana high school basketball. He's a great kid, really enjoy talking to him. Everyone likes him. I will say, and he works his butt off, so there's nothing not to like about him. But, to see him standing there, and he was literally just sobbing in tears when, Shane Spear gets the Mental Attitude Award, and then he comes back and he gives Shane a huge hug. And, he was really distraught, and because that was the end, Shane's a senior, and he basically said, it just means my last chance to play with this class or these group of guys. So, from that standpoint, he does understand it, and he understands the moment, and it's not a job to him, obviously. And that Kokomo community really loves him. And, that I thought that was cool, to see.
I saw that, and that stood out to me as well, reading it in your coverage. I'm like, wow. And you did a good job of bringing that across, because that's exactly the take I took from that. I'm like, wow, this means a lot to him. So that's impressive to me that he has absorbed it that quickly, because that's a nuance, and you can't coach that, teach that, whatever. You just have to have that. We ran long. I wanted to ask you about Peyton Sparks. I know Indiana hosted him for a visit. He's a Winchester, Indiana kid, went to Ball State in the portal. Big guy. I call him like a poor man's Thomas Bryant.
Yeah, big kid, obviously, and he's proven. So that's kind of the difference with him. When you're looking at portal guys compared to high school guys, obviously, what he's capable of doing, and he had a really good, obviously, high school career at Winchester, and then on at Ball State. So, kind of playing himself into a bigger role. And I think you know what he's capable of doing. Which I think is is a good thing for IU, and I think would be a good situation for Peyton too. So yeah, I mean, I think that'll be. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but sounds like that'd be a good situation for both ends.
Absolutely. I can't thank you enough, Kyle. Make sure you give him a follow. Indy from the Indy Star, Kyle Neddenriep. Have a great one, brother.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Jim.
You bet. Up next, we're fortunate to have former Indiana coach and current Detroit Mercy coach Mike Davis joining us. He coached a guy named Dusty May, who is in the news now. Of course, he's been with us quite a few times as well. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home. Hey, Coach, how are you today?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. Thank you. Getting any rest now that the season's over?
I wish.
All back into the portal.
Always in the portal. The portal is the new recruiting tool now.
I'm telling you, it's like going to Walmart, man. Hey, I need a 6'5" shooting guard. Oh, they're down on aisle 5. So you go down aisle 5, and they're down aisle 5 toward the end. That's almost what it's like, man. It's crazy out there.
It sure is.
How's Antoine doing?
He's doing well. He just got off this morning. He's going to compete in the 3-point contest at the Final Four. So got him off this morning early. So he's heading there. He's in there right now.
Hey, there's some breaking news, Jim, with Peyton Sparks.
All right, tell me what it is.
That he committed. I don't know if you saw that. Just want to make sure you did, since it's wrong break.
I did not see it because I'm.
Zach's posted it. Actually, Peyton Sparks announced it specifically too. So,
well, there you go. Did you play against Ball State this year?
We did not. No.
That kid played for. That's a guy that's Indiana picked up out of the portal from
Ball State.
Yeah, he left Ball State, which. I'm like, man, they're poaching their own, taken from Michael.
Hey, man. That's hard to do there now.
Dog eat dog world out now, ain't it, Coach?
It definitely is. I've turned down some kids that was playing for some of my friends. I just wouldn't do it,
Is that right?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. If he can't.
I was wondering about that. I'm like, well, if he's already in the portal, I guess it's not their fault, but. It's kind of like dating that girl.
That's what it's like.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Supposed to be off limits, but
Yeah.
But these kids, though, they it's a different world.
All right, here we go, guys.
Is locally owned and operated by Endeavor Hospitality Group. Launched from a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back here on this Wednesday. It's beautiful outside and beautiful inside as we've got former IU coach and current Detroit Mercy coach Mike Davis with us. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you as always. You're always so gracious with us and your time. How's the postseason going right now? I know it's probably as busy as when you're coaching, if not busier.
Oh, it's definitely busy because there's 200-300 names every day that enter the transfer portal, so you have to be on top of it immediately.
That's the thing. When do you know, say, oh, that's the guy I need. I need this guy, and you go after him, and if you kind of put eggs in that basket and for whatever reason you don't get him, then does that put you behind on trying to get that spot filled?
Oh, it's plenty. It's plenty. You try to go out the guy, you see his name, you pull up his videos, and you watch him, and you see if that's what you need, and you call, and a lot of guys I like, they'll tell you immediately if they have an interest or not, and they don't. The new generation now, I think some of them will lead you on, but some of them be up front with you, and I can respect them being up front.
That's always a great thing. Dusty May, of course, making the news as he has just traversed his way through this NCAA tournament, kind of like you did some 2 decades ago. It's kind of surprising. Of course, his is a little different because it's Florida Atlantic, but Indiana was not expected to do what they did when you made that run. Florida Atlantic certainly not expected to do what they've done. Kind of similar way with similar type of guys who just play their butts off and play their roles. But you had Dusty was a manager under Coach Bob Knight, but he was a graduate assistant under you. What are the differences between being a manager and a graduate assistant and what they're able to do?
Well, when you're a manager, you basically do the same thing as the GA, except for the GA title is different. And you have a little more responsibility as a GA, but both are the same. It all depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to get out of it. Most Indiana managers, the majority of them wanted to coach or wanted to get a job in the business world. And at that time, the manager position at Indiana was popular and famous for getting jobs and working hard.
Well, and they done. I don't know of any schools, there has to be very few, that has a coaching tree of former managers. And Bob Kravitz was on with us just a little bit ago, and we were talking about from that same class, which all these guys, was Schrage, who is an assistant at Duke, and Joe Pasternak, who is the head coach at UC Santa Barbara, Ryan Carr with the Pacers. It's just amazing to have that come out of such a small group.
It is. It is a lot more than that. I can't think of the names, but I know the faces. They're all over the country, and that's why you came to Indiana. When I got there, Coach Knight has had a trio of managers that was there to learn under him, not just to be in the basketball world, but to be in the business world. And it was a really big deal. I can remember nights we getting back at 2:00 in the morning, and those guys would be out there waiting on the bus to get back to take off all the luggage that we had, and it was the film that they worked on. It was like a machine, and it's no surprise that the success that most of them are having in both business and basketball world.
Talking about Dusty, what was he like? We watch him on the sideline. He's pretty, Don Fisher used this word, he's very poised, and his teams stay that way. It's like he took a lot of things from you, from Coach Knight, and then he's got his own personality that he's just Dusty. And you just look all there, and it's like, oh, that's Dusty. You can just tell that's Dusty. He has his own deal, man.
He's a competitor. He's a very, very, he played pickup game, and he was similar to what Fife was in pickup games. You always fouled him. You always calling fouls on him, and you always getting into it with him. He just competed like you wouldn't believe in. But I'm proud of him, the way he handled himself on the sideline, the way he handled his players. They FaceTimed me after the win over Kansas State, the team did, from the locker room, and it was really great to see him get this Final Four jacket, because every coach that goes to the Final Four, they get a Final Four blazer, and you only get the Final Four, and they have a Final Four dinner for all the Final Four coaches, and he's a part of that club now. I'm proud of him.
It's like the Five Timers Club on Saturday Night Live, or I guess it's not the Master, kind of like the Masters. What colors are these jackets?
Black. They black. Maybe
Black
navy
Vader.
blue. I don't know. My wife just said navy. I don't know colors like.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
Awesome. And he's built this team kind of like you built yours, with guys that are just fill their roles. He doesn't really have superstars, but these guys are thriving in what they're doing, and they're thriving at the highest level.
Unbelievable team. We played them in November, and it's something about a team that you can tell that they can be a real basketball team. And there's very few real basketball teams in college basketball every year. I always make this speech, and I told this team there's only going to be 4 or 5 real teams. And it's hard to be a real team. A real team is a team that doesn't care who starts, who shoots, who plays. They celebrate their teammates' success more than they do their own, because there's so many outside forces that really hurt you to becoming a real team. You know, your mom, your dad, your coach say, why you not playing? Why you not shooting? He should be running more plays for you. And just that alone can cause confusion amongst you being a real team. So out of 355 schools, every year is only going to be 4 or 5 that's a real basketball team. That's why the transfer portal is so full now, is because it's hard to be a real team. You play a game on Saturday, and your name is in the transfer portal on Sunday. So it tells you that you're not all in, and you wasn't a real basketball team.
The Final Four that we have right now, COVID has played a part of this, because there are a lot of guys that are getting that 5th year to play, in addition to the transfer portal hitting at the same time. Is the type of Final Four we see now, is that the new normal, or is that going to kind of go back after this COVID wave hits out and things level back out?
Well, I just think it's going to be the norm, to be honest with you, because there's so many things that plays a part of being a real basketball team. I think the NIL is something that's, maybe, you look at Miami, they took advantage of the NIL because they're a real team. They added some pieces to it. And then you have some teams that the NIL have cost them games and cost them from being a real team. So the COVID years helped some players, help some teams, but it comes down to being a real team. And now you have guys who are making more money than the coaches are making, and making more money than their parents are making. And, blessed to them. But at the same time, when I call you and tell you why you're not playing, why you're not shooting, you should have a bigger role in the team. It really hurt your team, because, again, I can't be with you on Monday and have my name in the transfer portal on Tuesday if those feelings wasn't there at some point throughout the course of the season.
With Miami being known for having a couple of big-time paycheck NIL guys, but they only have really brought in one guy, does that put to bed kind of those type of teams will not be able to build chemistry because they're playing pretty damn well? You had Kansas State, who had 10 new faces. They were able to come together really well. You obviously use the portal a lot. Is it more not as difficult as people think to get teams to play together quicker?
Oh, it's difficult, even if they've been there with you for a long time. Again, I say it's just tough, because a lot of these kids have played so many games that the hurt feeling of losing, the motivation of going out every single day to be the best you can be is lacking, I think, in the game, because 5 minutes after every game, a lot of teams you can't tell they even played a game. Now, let alone won or lost the game. And so it's just different. There's no true answer to it. It's just most everybody's opinion about what I can only speak about the teams I've coached and the things I see and the things I hear. And so Dusty has done a great job in San Diego State, even Kansas State. My son was recruited by Kansas State last year in the transfer portal, and those guys, the little guard they have, when Antoine went on his visit, he was calling Antoine his brother. So he really understands the culture. He was like, hey, I'm going to get you the ball. You're going to break the record because I'm going to help you do it. You know, when you have players speaking like that, you know, it's to me, it's a message to you that they're going to be a real team when you're having those kind of conversations with recruits that's coming on campus and you've been there.
Speaking of Antoine, he is now the second all-time leading scorer in the history of the NCAA. That's got to be something that will always bring a smile to your face.
It definitely bring a smile to my face. There was so many controversial things about it, you know, and the narrative was painted that we was trying to buy our way into a record, and I've heard so many different stories, and none of them are true. You know, we played at an event last year under 500. The CBI contacted us. We didn't contact them. They contacted us, and the pressure they got from just even mentioning our name to break the record was amazing. And he was disappointed from just knowing that people didn't want us to play just because of the record and everything that he either broke. But I told him his career is really unmatched. You know, only two players in history that ever gotten 3,600 points, and the 3-point all time, the 144 consecutive games of double figures, you know, is really, really good. And I'm excited and happy, but the message I think was missed through what he did, and what he did was hard work. It was hard work. You know, I don't know a college basketball player, similar to what Pistol Pete did, to be honest with you, because how many guys are taking 30,000 shots in a week and 5,000 shots in a day and, you know, 10,000 shots in one day. And, you know, so the message should have been, you know, not the record, but the work that he put in to become the player that he was in college basketball.
What's up next for Antoine? I know you mentioned, I think it may have been off air though, but he's competing in a 3-point contest at the Final Four. I'm assuming you're going down there for coaches meetings and whatnot.
I never go to the Final Four, you know.
Not since 2002.
When you in it, you don't want to go just to be down there being a spectator, you know. And he left this morning going to the 3-point contest, which is tomorrow on ESPN2, I think. And then he's going to fly out to Las Vegas because everybody I talk to is talking about his size and his strength and everything. So he's going to go spend 2 months out there. He's not going to play he got invited to the NBA. I mean, not the NBA, but the Final Four All-Star game. You know, I want him to get out to Vegas as quick as possible and train with Joe Budasar, who's an Indiana person as well. And so he's going to go there for 2 months to try to pick up, you know, 10 to 15 pounds of muscle and strength, and hopefully he can play in the summer league this summer.
Yeah, Charlie Miller, a good friend, always talks about him as well. That whole group, like I said. But what's up next for you? Just doing all the hard work and getting ready for next season already?
Just trying to get a team. You know, we had so much bad luck this year. We had 2 starters that missed the whole second semester of our season, and one averaged 14 and one averaged 12. So we lost 26 points at the first semester point. And then we had over 100 games missed by starters alone. And I think Antoine and one other player was the only 2 guys that didn't miss a game of the whole year. So just trying to get some kids that want to play, want to be the kind of team that Dusty has right now, that the team come first. And that's tough to do.
Coach, I cannot thank you enough for taking time, as you always so graciously do. Thank you so much. Good luck to Antoine, and we'll be watching him in Houston. Hope he lights it up. He still gets counted as being an Indiana kid. He was born in Bloomington, man.
He was born in Bloomington. I told him don't miss one shot in the 3-point contest.
and when he gets done, he's got to walk off like Bird. Put the finger in the air and walk off with that last one floating in the air.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate your contact.
Appreciate you, sir. Have a great day and a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Coach Mike Davis joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. So gracious to have him with us as always. And we've got more coming up right after this on Indiana Sports Beat.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether
All right, 30 seconds.
Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington offers a variety of freshly made fare, tying their roots in limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious, 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
this segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Here on this Wednesday, some breaking news, as John made us aware while we were talking with former IU coach Mike Davis, ironically, as Mike Woodson fills a huge role in the roster, adding 6'9", 240-pound center Peyton Sparks, the Ball State transfer. He was the 51st ranked rebounder in the country last season. That is something Indiana needs, and something that alongside Malik Renew, he could be even better. He's a very, very active player. Like, he reminds me of Thomas Bryant in a way. He's 6'9", not 6'10", but he's just a very athletic 6'9". Quicker. Think back to Indiana, how methodical everything was. That you can't play that way. That
that, it might work for Princeton on a certain run, but overall that's not going to work in the grand scheme of things, especially as things will evolve back to some type of normalcy over the next year or two. But he's a Winchester, Indiana native. So you get another Hoosier on the roster. Averaged just over 13 points a game last year, almost 9 rebounds. Very aggressive post player. But let's just say it, he sucks at the free throw line. And that's going to be a problem. I mean, he's bad. He shoots 52%. I think I could do that standing there with my eyes closed, and I'm not kidding. So he needs work on that. Obviously, that's a mental struggle. Excuse me. Obviously, that's a mental struggle for him, and it's probably just only exacerbated itself through that. But he brings so many other positives. Now Indiana needing to fill guards and wings. They need more guard play. They need an athletic two. An athletic two. They need a shooter. I don't know how quickly Gabe Cupps can get up to speed to being that backup. To Xavier Johnson. But hopefully he can. And I think that is a role that he probably can fill. A lot less pressure than being the starter. I'm going to see Trey Galloway coming off the bench next year. If Indiana needs for that to be the case, for them to be as good as they need to be. I don't mean that to be disparaging towards Trey Galloway, but he's a good player. They need great players. And that's just the fact of the matter. If you want to win at the highest level. Now you can get into conference play, and we know what happens there. It's a different deal than the NCAA tournament play. It's a different level. I don't care who you're playing, what seed, it doesn't matter. It's a different level. You have to turn it up, period. I think both Indiana teams learned that this year. I think Indiana actually ends up with 7 new faces on the roster. I keep forgetting about Jalen Hood-Schifino. You've got the 3 seniors plus JHS, Logan Duncombe, Tamar Bates, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 already, so we're already at the over. I think Jordan Geronimo goes next, and it becomes 7. Someone asked earlier, why would he wait? What's he waiting on? Same reason probably that Tamar Bates waited a little bit. There's no hurry. I mean, the portal has not even picked up its peak. That'll come after the season most likely, and it's open for a while. There are places that there's research that you have to do. Where is it that you'd like to go? Not even specifically, but an area. Okay, now you have to look at teams in that area. Is there anyone there that has the possibility of being able to accept you? Is there anyone there that would be interested? Probably some back channeling, reaching out, talking to. Hey, would you have any interest? Doing some research before you enter it. So A, you don't draw attention. B, you don't have a bunch of teams that you have no interest in reaching out to you, and you don't want to deal with that. That's another reason why you don't put your name in, because they can't talk to you right now. So they keep it out until they do their own research, and that's a reason. and then all three, you don't want to go in at the same time. You Logan dunk them, you give it a little space. Tamar Bates, there'd be a little bit of space. Jordan Geronimo, I expect to be next. Not guaranteed, but you saw how little he started to play this year. Well, Indiana should be a better team next year. Listen to what I say, a better team. I'm not sure how good of a team they were this year. And I don't mean that in a negative sense that it sounds. I don't know that they almost even didn't realize that they were a team. I was thinking last night about Miller Kopp. When he was at Northwestern, what were his shooting numbers? I think that he had no problems putting the ball up back then. So, all right, he played in 32 games as a freshman. Good Lord. He played in so many games. That's why he's got the record for most games played in the Big Ten. Played in 32 to start his career. 16.4 minutes. Shot 37% from the field, 32% from three-point that year. I need to know how many he attempted. Here we go. Because I think his attempts just plummeted at Indiana. Daggone it. It doesn't have the numbers that I'm looking for. But, here's the per game. No, he never really put up. Yeah, his numbers just dropped drastically as the years went on. His most productive year was his sophomore year at Northwestern. Then his shooting went down as far as attempts. But I wonder, my point is, you look at Trey Galloway, who also shot 51% this year from behind the arc, but Indiana was, especially in the Big Ten, they put up the least amount of three-point attempts. That's not going to win you games. But I wonder if this became such a Trace Jackson Davis first offense that they knew that their first thought has to be to get the ball to Trace Jackson Davis, that shooting the ball was not the first thing they thought of. And I think it was just a great detriment to the Indiana offense. Not that Trace Jackson Davis didn't score a lot of points. He did. But how many of those shots could have been three-point attempts or three-point shots made if the offense had been a little more balanced? I think we saw some games where Indiana just lost because of that very thing, trading baskets 3 for 2. Iowa certainly was one of those. But they've got to get guys that can shoot the ball, drive the ball, score the ball, rebound the ball. All of the above. You've got to have they've got guys in the center now. They're pretty solid in the middle right now. They'll need another. You're going to need a backup. I think that they still need one more big, but especially if Malik does not clean up his fouling, which I'm sure he'll get better at that. But I think Indiana would still like to have another. Well, it depends on the wings. If they can get some big 6'8" guys, man, those hybrids, which is what Indiana has to get, that athletic hybrid shooter, 6'8" guy who can be on the wing, play the three, but rebound the ball, give you that extra that they didn't have. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how quickly it plays out. I mean, I think Indiana is going to go at the pace needed. They're not going to fill slots just to fill them. Peyton Sparks is a good pickup. Got to fix that free throw shooting, though. My God, those are things that that's a situation where he couldn't be in the game at the end of a game. You can't have him in. And what happens if Malik Renew's in foul trouble, so he's on the bench? Somebody's got to be in. Just looking ahead. But that Indiana has plenty of space. Current 6 available, 3 taken, 3 left. I think one more comes open. Who, what, when, where? Like I said, I think that this will fill up. I think that I don't know that they'll wait very long to get the next.
I've got a hypothetical for you, Jim. And I don't know how likely this hypothetical is to happen. But let's say Jalen Hood-Schifino decides to stay a second year with Indiana. Xavier Johnson, do you think that causes any potential conflict with him wanting to not potentially transfer out of Indiana himself? Why are you punching the microphone?
I'm just seeing to make sure that this thing is working.
Yeah, it's totally on.
I'll make sure I'm going through the microphone. So if I turn everything down,
yes,
you can still hear me?
Yes.
That's not good. Then
No. Like, I could hear you, but it was getting quieter. We can't do this on the air. We've got a few minutes left. You're fine, I promise.
Just play it. What was your question?
Anyway, I was saying, let's say Jalen Hood-Schifino decides to come back for a second season.
No.
Xavier Johnson can still transfer out again because he would be a graduate transfer.
No.
You don't think he goes?
No. I don't think Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Jalen Hood-Schifino and Xavier Johnson both would want to be starting point guards. Yes, Jalen Hood-Schifino can play the 2, but does he excel at the 2 the way that he excels?
Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to be an NBA point guard, so he is not going to come back to play a year as a number 2. That's not going to happen.
So you're just saying there's no chance he comes back. But my question was, if he were to decide to have a second season, because like we said, players do have more of an incentive to stay with NIL nowadays, especially in Indiana.
He doesn't.
If he were to stay, do you think that affects Xavier Johnson's decision to come back at all?
I don't think it's a discussion because I don't think that there's any chance he's going to stay.
All right, that's fine.
That
wasn't the question. That's fine.
Okay. I don't think that Xavier Lee, if he were to stay, it would have to be announced soon enough to where Xavier felt comfortable in entering the portal. But then people are going to be wondering about, how healed are you? He's going to have questions where Indiana does not have any questions for Xavier. He's going to be fine. He expects to start next year, and Indiana expects to start Xavier Johnson at the point guard position next year. And there's no way in this world, I imagine, Jalen Hood-Schifino comes back, especially not as a starter when he is headed to the league. That would not do him any good whatsoever. He would be actually regressing, sitting on, in essence, almost sitting out a year, not playing the position that he is geared up to play. And the NBA would take him and say, "No, we would rather develop you than you sit not doing this." So, big thanks to everybody on the program today. Of course, Bob Kravitz, started us off as always with a great start. Make sure you give Bob a follow at The Athletic. All kinds of coverage there on what's going on with Indiana, Boilers, Pacers, Colts. What are they going to do at quarterback? Who knows? Cal Neddenriep from Indy Star, of course. Big thanks to him. And former Indiana coach and current Detroit Mercy coach, Mike Davis, as always, great friend of the show. Appreciate him joining us so much as well, talking about his former assistant, Dusty May. We're back tomorrow to do it all again, and I can't wait. Thanks to John, the producer, keeping us between the white lines. And, of course, most of all, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. Go out, have yourselves an absolutely fantastic day. I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.